All right, let's jump right into this explainer. I put this together for us because I recently stumbled onto some seriously mind-blowing research, and it fundamentally changed how I think about our future together as a family. We're always talking about wanting more time with each other, right? To see the kids grow up, to really enjoy our later years. Well, it turns out the way we typically try to achieve that might actually be completely backward. Let's look at how we can learn from history to add not just years to our lives, but real life to our years.
112. Just think about that number for a second. Every single person in recorded history who has lived past the age of 112 had some incredible things in common, and it is practically the exact opposite of what modern culture tells us we should be doing. Scientists from the Blue Zones Project, the Okinawa Centenarian Study, and the New England Centenarian Study spent decades looking at people like Jerome Kimura, who reached 116, and Christian Mortensen, who reached 115. These were people born in the 1800s. They survived the Spanish flu, the Great Depression, and 2 world wars. But what absolutely fascinated the researchers wasn't just their genetics, it was their daily habits.
Because there is a massive disconnect between what we think we need to do to live longer and what actually works. These supercentenarians lived well over a century without ever touching a longevity supplement, without tracking a single night of sleep, and without ever stepping foot in a gym. Seriously, they didn't even use the word longevity. And the wild part? The patterns researchers found were completely consistent across every continent and every era. The folks who made it past 110 weren't athletes, and they certainly weren't biohackers doing extreme body optimizations. So here is the real kicker for us today. What if adopting their simple, everyday habits could give us more quality time together, and it costs absolutely nothing? We get so caught up thinking we need to spend a fortune on the latest health trends to protect ourselves, but the hard data tells us that the things that actually keep humans around for a century are completely free. They're just everyday choices. Take Robert Wayton, for example. Back in 2020, he was the world's oldest living man, reaching 112. He was an engineer who just made wooden sculptures and gave the money to charity well past his 100th birthday. He's living proof that longevity isn't about extreme biological hacking. It's about ordinary, calm consistency. He didn't sit around filled with anxiety about the future. He just accepted uncertainty with remarkable presence and simply lived his life. All right, moving to section 1, movement without the gym. Let's see exactly how our ancestors kept moving. You know how the fitness industry is always selling us on these intense 45-minute workouts? And then what do? We follow it up with hours and hours of sitting at our desks or crashing on the couch. Well, modern research confirms that prolonged sitting is independently damaging to our metabolic health, even if you crushed a workout that morning. Instead of punishing ourselves with short bursts of intensity followed by damaging sitting, we really need to look at the supercentenarians. They moved gently, constantly for about 14 hours a day. Gardening, walking, working with their hands, right up until very late in life. And we can hit this exact movement protocol just by choosing to walk to run our errands or go see our neighbors. This specific pattern was repeated across every single long-lived population researchers looked at. We're talking 8,000 to 12,000 steps a day, but not on a treadmill for fitness, just as a practical way to navigate life. Going for groceries, work, church, community, we can so easily build this into our family routine. We can walk to the store together, take evening strolls, and consciously just choose to sit less. Section 2. Eating like our ancestors. Real food and natural rhythms. Okay, so the Okinawans have this brilliant principle called hara hachibu. It literally means stopping when you are 80% full. And honestly, every long-lived population studied practiced some version of this, even if they didn't have a fancy name for it. Instead of driving themselves crazy with endless calorie tracking, they practiced beautiful cultural habits just like this one. It naturally ensured they stopped eating before they felt completely stuffed. And their daily rhythms were so different from ours. Their food intake naturally tapered off as the day went on. The largest meals were always breakfast or lunch, never a massive dinner. Plus, they naturally fasted for 12 to 16 hours every night, not because they were on some strict wellness protocol, but simply because food wasn't abundantly available 24/7. Natural gaps between meals were just normal life. When you think about it by those historical standards, our modern habit of eating all the time is actually what's extreme. When it comes to what actually went on their plates, it was super accessible and affordable. The daily staples were beans and pulses, like black beans, lentils, chickpeas. Fun fact, those actually have the highest longevity correlation of any food group in the research literature. They also ate fermented foods daily, things like miso, sauerkraut, and kefir, which measurably transformed the diversity of their gut microbiomes. Fish was on the menu maybe 2 to 3 times a week, red meat was rare, and ultra-processed foods, absolutely never. The biology of human digestion hasn't changed. We just need to feed our family what our great-grandparents would recognize as actual, real food. Which brings us to Section 3, protecting our rest. This is probably the most overlooked longevity variable of them all. Our ancestors didn't try to hack their sleep to squeeze out more productivity. They fiercely protected it. They went to sleep when darkness came, keeping their circadian rhythms completely intact, and we are talking 8 to 9 hours every single night. Not 6, not 7. Sleep wasn't this annoying thing to minimize, it was a non-negotiable biological requirement. And, crucially, taking an afternoon rest, a 20 to 40-minute nap, was a staple documented across every single longevity culture, from Okinawa all the way to Sardinia. Research consistently shows that populations who nap regularly have significantly lower rates of cardiovascular events. We have to stop feeling guilty about resting, guys. It is literally protecting our hearts. Section 4. Connection and family purpose. The variables that money absolutely cannot buy. The Okinawans have another beautiful concept called moai. It's a committed social group of 5 people who support each other for life. Being physically affectionate, sharing multi-generational homes, and seeing the very same people every single week is one of the most powerful longevity factors ever identified. Seriously, research shows that chronic social isolation raises your mortality risk by over 50%. In some studies, it's actually a stronger predictor of early mortality than smoking. The intense isolation of the modern single-occupancy household has literally no precedent in our evolutionary history. These supercentenarians were never truly alone, and physical contact, like a simple hug or a hand on the shoulder, was just a natural, daily occurrence. And then there's ikigai, a reason to wake up. Every long-lived Okinawan could name theirs without a second of hesitation. Instead of the 20th century invention of retirement, where you just stop working, consume leisure, and essentially stop being useful, these people remained needed. Contribution was their entire identity. They served their families, they served their villages, and they forgave daily because they knew that sustained anger is measurably harmful to immune health. Having that clear sense of meaning is independently associated with lower mortality risk in long-term studies. Okay, Section 5, our 5-step family protocol. This is how we add life to our years together. If we completely ignore all the complex health noise out there and do absolutely nothing else, we can just do these 5 simple things. Step 1, we walk more together. 8 to 10,000 steps, not as a chore, but just as part of living. Step 2, we eat real ancestral foods. Beans, fish, fermented veggies, and we cut out the ultra-processed stuff entirely. Step 3, we fiercely protect our 8 hours of sleep. Step 4, we stay closely connected, making sure we physically hug and support each other every day. And Step 5, we each find that one thing worth waking up for, and we keep doing it for as long as we live. No crazy optimization frameworks needed. Just ordinary, beautiful consistency. So I want to leave us with this question to hash out around the table right now. Which of these 5 habits are we starting tomorrow? Because embracing these simple, ancient steps isn't just about trying to hit 112. It means we are actively choosing to build a longer, richer, and genuinely shared future together. Let's talk about it.